technology thing is great, but also sometimes you kind of lose that rawness, and I totally hear what you're saying about that. It's like everything's so perfect on that grid. It just sounds.
Yeah. Like, I think like, and I'm not knocking any bands that sound like that. I just think like, and a lot of this stuff, like when Necrophagus put out Epitaph in 2004, and I love that record. I absolutely love it. And I think like the production on that is like exactly what that record needs. And there's certain bands that I like that have that production too, and I think it fits them well. But I think like we went from this period from like 2004 up until like very recently where it just got like out of hand though. Where it's just like, man, and I like the sound of a good production. Like, don't get me wrong. But like sometimes like I go back and like listen to something that has that sort of in it. I don't know. Sometimes I think for me at least it like deters like the timelessness of it. Like it just sounds too, I don't know. It just sounds like too like plastic to me.
It lacks its own like style, I feel like, because a lot of it sounds the same. Like it doesn't really have its own uniqueness to it.
Yeah. So anyway, just my 2 cents. But yeah. There's like a lot of great bands out there now though. But those are kind of like the ones that I've like kind of checked out. Definitely sort of the most.
Thank you for that, Dryden. Do you got any other questions?
That was about it for me. I was interested in the guitar.
So let's see. We got some questions in the comments here. This person asks, did Brian record any guitar parts for the new album?
That's a good question. So originally when we set out to make this record, we were just like, yeah, we'll have Brian, whatever songs he writes, he'll track them, because that's usually the way it works. But Brian kind of made the decision. He's like, no, he's like, if I'm not going to be, he's like, if I'm taking over vocals, like, he's like, I'd rather just have you and Brandon do it. So me and Brandon, essentially, we track Brian's songs. And of course, Brian would like be there in the background if we needed to ask him a question or something like, is this how you want it played? Or do you want it more muted, or, whatever it may be. But like, so yeah, me and Brandon basically tracked everything. The only other thing to make of note, I guess, about that is, like, there was a time, I remember, like, right when I came into the band in Deflorate, me and Brian would always track our own parts, right? So it's like, even if it was Brian's songs or my songs, Brian would play his parts, his designated parts, and I would play my own designated parts. And I think around Ritual, we kind of quit doing that for a bit because it just was quicker to track. And then I think even in the Brandon era, like on Nightbringers and Verminous, I think Brian still tracked all his own songs, and I think Brandon tracked his own songs. But now we have gone back to, like, I played all my parts on the record, Brandon played all his parts on the record. And I think the reason for that is we just it just sounds good to have like the two, you get like some space with it, having like two different guys play a little bit. And then we even went as far as to like even all 95% of any harmonized leads on there are actually me and Brandon. So like on Servitude, like those little chorus parts, that's Brandon playing and that's me playing harmonized. Like, so we took it pretty far as it's painstaking work, but we did that.
I noticed you guys playing the dual leads too when I watched that Summer Breeze performance, which is incredible.
So yeah, I mean it's a lot of work to put in, but at the end of the day, I think it just makes for better.
So we're coming up on a half hour. I'm sure you got other stuff to do, so we don't want to keep you too past your time. But what do you see for the future? Like, does the band, like, is just this the start of a new era? Are you guys going to continue putting out records and touring, or is this maybe like kind of a one-off thing?
No, this is definitely the start of a new era. And basically, we'll do this record, we'll do then the touring cycle, and then in the next records, I feel like we have like a thing, since Brian's kind of taken on his new role. You're going to see him like develop, of course, just the way people saw Trevor develop over albums. And then now that we kind of have this like 2 lead guitar thing that we have that the band's kind of never had, there's basically what I'm getting to. We have like some new things I feel like to explore, and I feel like a lot of these things, well, we've obviously started on this new record, but like it's going to take another record or 2 for us to sort of probably really evolve these until like So you
Yeah.
see further what we can sort of do with this. So yeah, I think a lot of things to look forward to.
Well, the new record's fantastic, man. Like I said, I feel like it's a little bit more dynamic, but it also, to your point, kind of has more of the feel. Maybe it's the production of the older stuff a little bit. It's not too polished, like it's pretty raw stuff.
Yeah. We definitely did not shrink everything to the grid. Yeah, we tried to leave some of it raw, and maybe something that's special about this record is that if I didn't say this already, it's like it's like the first record where you're kind of seeing the full spectrum, of everyone that's written songs for Black Dahlia. Now you have it all in one record, which has kind of never happened. So yeah, it's I would say it's pretty diverse record.